Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by our dear sister. The message reads like this. Hello, my brother. How are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I don't know if I am supposed to wait for my husband or if I should just move on with my life. And I want you to give me advice. The things that my husband told me, is it because he only told me this story because he has since been arrested? These are just the words of a man who has been caught, or maybe he is actually telling me the truth. Please help me. So what happened to my husband is that my husband was fortunate enough that he started working for this other company. It is a courier company. So mostly they were transporting your iPhones, your MacBooks, and very expensive laptops. So one day my husband said that he was stopped by these men that were driving a car, and then they stopped him. These men, then they said that they wanted to see his papers. Unfortunately, my husband, the papers that he was using, they were not okay. My husband told me that amongst the men that had stopped him, there was one who was actually a police officer. This man then took his passport and told my husband that he was supposed to meet up with this man at the mall. So after my husband had done his deliveries, he then went to this shopping mall and he looked for that car and he found those men. They were waiting for him. He then went to the place where those men were waiting for him. Then that guy said that he had verified my husband's documents and he had seen that my husband's documents, they were all fake, and he was willing to arrest him. And if he was going to get arrested, then he was looking at a very lengthy prison time. So my husband said that he got so scared and he begged this man to forgive him, even if it meant to bribe him. Then that man said that, no, I'm not going to accept your money. You cannot bribe me, and I am going to lock you away. So my husband kept on begging until that man said, if you want, what we can do is that we will be following you along. When you know that you have some expensive deliveries, then as we are following you, you will just pretend as if you have been hijacked. So this was going to be an inside job. My husband told me that he thought of me at that time and he saw that this was the only thing that he could do, and then he accepted that policeman's offer. So my husband, unfortunately, after this fake hijacking had taken place, that was when my husband was caught. And my husband, he had actually came back home with a lot of expensive laptops and phones that I did not even know where he had gotten them from. And my husband did not even bother to tell me where he had gotten these expensive laptops. Unfortunately, my husband, he then got arrested. So my husband right now, he is in prison. And amongst all these people that he was working with, he is the only guy who is from Zim. So he was crying and saying that these men, they used me because of my nationality, and now they are pinning everything on me, and there is no hope for me because the other ones, they can afford really great lawyers. But my husband, unfortunately, he is in for his improper documentation as well as this thing of fake hijacking. So I don't know, should I wait for my husband or should I just move on with my life? Because my husband is looking at a very lengthy prison term. Please, I am asking for your advice. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister right there. Let us assist her in the comments section. Strange things do happen in this world. The following message again that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that was sent to me. The message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? I have my own secret that me and my wife, we have been keeping in our hearts. I still remember a very long time ago when we came here to South Africa, but I was the one who first came here to South Africa. When I came here, after I had found a room to stay and a proper job, that was when I returned back home. I spoke with my wife and my wife begged me and she told me that she wanted to return with me back to South Africa. So I agreed and I said, okay, it is fine. Let us return back to South Africa together. So it was me and my wife. But after we had planned our trip, that was when two of my neighbors, they came to me and they said that they also wanted to come with me, but they wanted to bring along their wives. So it was 6 of us, me and my wife, my neighbor and his wife, and my other neighbor with his wife. We arrived in Beitbridge and we looked for people who could actually take us across the border. So these people, they took us across the Limpopo, and when we were on the other side of the border here in South Africa, when we were walking along the bushes, and we could actually see where Musina was. We could actually see the town of Musina. All of a sudden, that was when we saw 8 men that came out. These men that came out, they were mixing the language that they were using, so we could not even understand if they were Ndebele, Venda, or Shona speaking, because they were just mixing their languages. We got so scared. These men, then they took out their long pangas as well as those machete knives, and they told us that they were going to kill us and no one was going to find us. They instructed me and those 2 other guys to sit down, and they made us to kneel down. And when we knelt down, then they took those shoestrings, then they started to tie us with our hands behind our backs. And as we were kneeling down, they started to beat us. Then they took our wives. They took my wife, my neighbor's wife, and my other neighbor's wife. Then they took them to a place which was not very far. Then the first man, he stripped my wife naked, and they stripped all of our wives naked. Then they started to sleep with them, 8 of them, after they had abused our wives for a very long time, exchanging our wives. And they came to the place where they had tied us and where we were kneeling, because they forced us to watch them as they were abusing our wives. They told us that they were now going to untie us, and after they would have untied us, they did not want us to run, to panic, or to try to attack them, because they were going to overpower us and they were going to kill us, to hack us to death. So we started walking. When we arrived at the place where our women were laying on the ground, it was really painful, because I actually saw that my wife, she was exhausted, because it seemed as if these men, they had drunk a certain type of a charm that made their manhood to keep on getting erect, and that is how they were abusing our women. So when we arrived at the place where our women were laying down on the ground, then they forced us to make love to our women. So I was forced to make love to my wife first, as well as my neighbors. At the same time, they were making love to their own women. After I had been forced to sleep with my own wife, that was when I was told, and go and sleep with one of my neighbor's wife, and my neighbors as well was forced to come and sleep with my own wife. So we did this until we were all done sleeping with each other's women. And after we were done, then they told us that we could go. We then started walking towards Musina, and then we went our separate ways. So me and my wife, we never broke up. But what pains me the most is that even though this thing, it happened many years ago, but me and my wife, we have never sat down to discuss about this issue that happened to her, being abused by these men, 8 of them, including me and including 2 of our neighbors. We have never spoken about it. I just wonder what my wife is thinking, and I am also stressed about this thing that happened to my wife. And even when we return back home, we actually meet up with our neighbors. It pains me a lot when I look at my neighbors, knowing that my neighbors actually slept with my own wife, and I also slept with their own wife. I have never spoken with those men about this issue. So this is my own story, Brother Nashi. Please, if you post it, I will be following through in the comment section. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother right there. This is the thing that happened to him, and he's on to him and his wife. Just imagine being forced to abuse your own wife, and after that being forced to sleep with your neighbors and your neighbor's wife again, and their husbands as well, being forced to sleep with your own wife. Strange things do happen in this world. Please let us talk about this issue in the comment section. Yo.